Right. Now, in this segment, I would like to point out some very important factors about words that we say and what do they mean to people that we're talking about. We're talking about directional terminology. I'm standing inward from the ball. So if I point at me, I say this direction is in from the ball. So in. If I point at the ball, that's out. So the ball is out from me. If I point down the target line, say that is forward. That is a forward direction. Opposite of the forward direction is a backward direction. Right? That's up and that's down. Now I believe those terms are pretty universal. Now let's understand what happens during the initial part of the golf swing and then at the start of the downswing, where we find out is a major difference in all golf strokes. Initially, the club head and the shaft are going inward and backward from the ball. So the club head just went backward, inward. There's two directions. And now, because the right arm cocked up, everything came up. At this point, the left arm is parallel to the stance line. The club shaft is pointing at the ball. So three things happened on the backswing as far as the club head was concerned and the club shaft. It went backward, upward, and inward. 3 dimensions. Now, from this position, this alignment at the top of the swing, everyone is concerned about hitting the ball forward, swinging the club forward to make the ball go forward. But it's impossible to go forward from here. From here I can either go out or down. But since everyone's intent is to go forward from here, they go out from here. And can you see how I go out across that line? I have to go in, and that's their basic problem. They're trying to go forward when the only place they can go is down and now out at the ball. Well, you understand that you went back and in with your hands, and now you have to go out with your hands. Out with your hands. If I go out, the two forces get together, and now the club goes forward. So the forward part of the golf swing is a resultant force of two divergent forces. Now that just means forces coming from two different directions. One direction is downward, the other is out. And when the two of them get together, the resultant direction is forward. Can we appreciate that? So the single most important movement in the golf swing is the start of the downswing. And it simply must be down, so now you can hit out. Watch it go down and then hit out. And you can see where the ball goes. Straight forward. Could it be that simple? Unfortunately, it is that simple. If you could just allow yourself to do it. One of the most important single principles in the entire golf swing is the right elbow's participation and its location from where the right arm moves into the hitting position. There are two elbow locations depending on which one of these strokes are you using. If you're using the swinging stroke pattern, in the initial motion, when the right wrist, remember, just bends back, the left wrist rotates, the elbow stays exactly where it is in front of your right hip. This is the single most important factor about that takeaway. The elbow remains in front of the right hip. Now, the second part of that motion, the right hip comes back, but the elbow always retains its relationship to the right wrist. Unfortunately, many golfers allow the right elbow to pull behind them in this manner, and when it comes down, you see it get caught on the hip and forces them to go out around the ball. It's the single most important thing in the swinging stroke pattern is keeping the right elbow in front of the right hip at all times. Now, when I start this downswing, this right elbow must come down, reconnect in front of the right hip before I hit out at the ball. In the hitting procedure, however, you see that with the club face continuing to look at the ball, you can see that the elbow does drift off the side, but it still, nevertheless, does not pull behind you. Where could you go from here? You would have to force yourself to hit out around the ball. So, in both procedures, the right elbow never does ever get behind you, that is, in back of you in that manner. But the key here is your left arm. If your left arm comes right straight up here, how are you going to put it back there? Well, you won't. You see, you're forced into doing this correctly if on the 2 to 3, your left arm comes straight up. There's the biggest problem. Keep it there. I assure you, if you can do that, you'll be in a position to hit out at the ball, out at that ball, which you can't do if your right elbow is caught on your side. One of the single most important phases of the golf swing is the condition and location of the right elbow during the swinging stroke and also during the hitting stroke pattern. In either case, the right elbow starts off in front of the right hip, and in the swinging motion, the elbow must retain its relationship to the right hip. That it always stays in front of it. Even though my right hip is pulled back as far as it'll go, the right elbow still retains its original relationship to the right hip. So as it comes down, you can see you are now in a position to hit out at the ball with your right wrist and your right forearm to drive down the line. Now, in the hitting procedure, the club face continues to look at the ball. The elbow does not stay on the side. It comes off a bit. However, because the left arm is coming straight up, the elbow still never gets in back of you here. It's one of the single biggest problems with most golfers. The elbow gets in back instead of staying in front of that hip. Once it's in front of the hip, hitting or swinging, you are in a great position to start down and hit out.